Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again on Talk and Fight. We've got another episode of Boxing News Headlines, courtesy of our friends over at boxing247.com across the pond. And before we get into the actual news of the day, I was just going through some of the headlines in the world of the heavyweight division. And I can't believe, shall we say, the chatter that goes back and forth among the boxers and the promoters. Some of the things that sprung out at me today while going through just the headlines, not reading all these stories, although I did take the time to read several of them because they're just so entertaining. Anyway, what got me down this path was the fact that Tony Yoka has accepted the IBF eliminator bout against Filip Hrgovic. Okay, so I read that and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's happening in the heavyweight, because we on Talking Fight are always discussing unclogging that heavyweight division. So it led me down this path of having a quick look around and seeing what was going on. Let me just relate to you some of the things I noticed. Dereck Chisora, for example, says he can beat Deontay Wilder, and then adding Anthony Joshua will beat Alexander Usyk, and then defeat Tyson Fury as well. Let's go through a few of these headlines because they're absolutely hilarious. Oh, this is in addition to what Larry Holmes had to say the other day about both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua and their boxing ability. And in encapsulating it, Larry Holmes basically says today's heavyweights just don't have the same skills as the heavyweights of the days gone by. So amongst those comments, then it led me to these other interesting these articles. And let me start you off with something that Eddie Hearn said. Eddie Hearn, who I respect as someone who is challenging in seemingly an honest way the world of boxing and how it's structured. Anyway, Eddie Hearn, promoter for former two-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, expects his boxer to reveal a new trainer in the next few weeks. Last September, former cruiserweight king Alexander Usyk outboxed Joshua over 12 rounds to capture the WBO, WBA, IBF, IBO world titles. A rematch clause was exercised by Joshua, and the second contest is targeted to take place sometime in April. Okay, following that loss, as we all know, Anthony Joshua fired his trainer and traveled to the United States, and was even spotted sparring with Floyd Mayweather, and also traveled to Dubai, working out with even other trainers. But the point is that getting so close to a fight, he's still debating who to train with. Not that there's any shortage of trainers, but it's obviously a big concern for him to win that fight against Usyk. Having said that, and speaking of the heavyweights, and speaking of who's on top right now, and that would be Tyson Fury, Dillian White says this story written by Scott Guilfoyle. Dillian White could lose out if he fails to act quickly to set up a fight with WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury for March 26. If White loses his chance, oh well, it would just be another example of him fumbling an opportunity. At 33, White is getting old, and he's not going to keep getting these chances for him to flush down the toilet with his decision-making. White's promoter, Eddie Hearn, has sounded defiant, insisting on continuing his push for a bigger split than the 80-20 that the WBC recently determined. So, sports fans, that's what it's all about, money. Anyway, the article continues. It's believed that Hearn is looking for a split in the 60-40 or 75-35 region, which would be a massive payday for White, who's 28-2 with 19 knockouts. However, this author continues, if you go by the purses White and Fury made in their last fights, the split should be 85-15, which would be the most accurate rather than 80-20, which is what has been determined already. However, it's something that Eddie Hearn is arguing against. White's purse, by the way, for his rematch with the post-COVID-19 Alexander Povetkin last March was $300,000. Last October, Fury's purse for his trilogy match against Deontay Wilder was $20 million. So there you go, sports fans. A little bit of information about the heavyweights. But anyway, let me get back to what Dereck Chisora said. He said he's backing Anthony Joshua to beat Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. But if you haven't looked at some of the Twitter feeds have gone around and some of the other Instagram posts, you might have noticed what Tyson Fury's been up to, and he's been putting on a bit of weight, it would seem, unless these are old photos that I happen to be noticing. Anyway, British heavyweight veteran Dereck Chisora, who's 32-12 with 23 knockouts, backs his fellow countryman Anthony Joshua to dominate the heavyweight landscape. Chisora lost to Joseph Parker for a second time last December, but vows to fight on, with growing talk of his next opponent potentially being WBC heavyweight title former WBC heavyweight ruler Deontay Wilder, with both boxers coming off back-to-back losses. Now, I have said before, Deontay Wilder suffered a major concussion in that last fight against Tyson Fury and is in no shape whatsoever to enter the ring, and I hope he bows out respectfully as a fighter. But anyway, if he goes up against Dereck Chisora, which wouldn't make a hill of beans a difference for anyone in the world, especially Tyson Fury. But as we see, someone else had something else to say about Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, easier than Alexander Usyk, says Robert Helenius, who is close to world title fight. I would knock Fury out, screams the headline. I would knock Tyson Fury out. He is an easier style for me than Alexander Usyk, for sure, says Robert Helenius, who's demanding to be instated as a WBA mandatory challenger to the heavyweight title. I mean, this stuff goes on. I haven't even hit the news today, by the way. I'm just recapping some of the fantastic headlines in the heavyweight division. But to encapsulate the heavyweights, here's the headline. Tyson Fury trolls Anthony Joshua by claiming he had 14 pints of beer before sparring. Fury has once again mocked Joshua, this time joking that he can drink copious amounts of alcohol and perform at the same level as his rival with a strict diet plan. Again, going back to the pictures of Tyson Fury being rather overweight, it would seem, yet being the heavyweight champion. Let me end it there because this stuff goes on. Let me get on with the news of today. Coming up in an upcoming fight, we see Ayuba Salimu is going to face Sadie Abdallah. Sadie for the UBO International title on January 30th. On January 30th, Tanzanian compatriots Ayuba Salima and Sadie Abdallah Sadie will square off in what is a big opportunity to make a name for themselves. After only 4 professional outings each, they will fight for the vacant UBO International Super Featherweight title. The 10-round fight will headline a show promoted by Mazoa Boxing Promotions at Muheza Stadium in the town of Muheza in Tanzania's Tanga region. So that's some great news out of Africa, where we're starting to see an awful lot of great boxers come up. Over in England, we see that the Chris Eubank Jr. Going head-to-head against Liam Williams has been confirmed for the Motor Point Arena in Cardiff, Wales for February 5th. And that's because of the government allowing indoor sports events to resume once again. So boxers pleased to announce a long-awaited showdown between bitter rivals, Chris Eubank Jr., who's 31-2 with 23 knockouts, and Liam Williams, who's 23-1 with 18 knockouts, and being presented in associated Wasserman Boxing, will take place, as I said, in Cardiff on February 5th. And it also features what they're saying is an electrifying undercard packed with world champions. All action contests and champions of the future will set the stage for a clash which will bring a years-long war of words to an explosive conclusion and determine which boxer is the UK's #1 middleweight. So, I mean, this doesn't just go on in the heavyweight. The clash of words, as they say, goes on in the middleweight division as well, apparently. Also on that card, by the way, 2-time Olympic gold medalist Claressa Shields, who's 11-0 with 2 knockouts, makes her UK debut as chief supporter of the main event, defending her WBA, WBC, and IBF World Middleweight Championships against undefeated WBF World Middleweight Champion Emma Kozin. which I reported on yesterday, who is 21-0-1 with 11 knockouts. Also, following a stellar amateur career in which he became World Youth Olympic Champion and won the European Youth Championships in astonishing 4 times, 21-year-old prospect Caroline Dubois follows her older brother Daniel into the professional ranks and aims to make her mark. For more information regarding that particular card, because it is a rather extensive article, please go to the boxing247.com website and enjoy that read. Elsewhere, we see that MTK Global is set to host an action-packed event in Bolton in the United Kingdom on February 18th. And this will feature Liam Taylor, who's 24-2-1 with 11 knockouts. And he'll return to the bill with former British Commonwealth European title challenger looking to kick off the year in style with his gym mate Jack Rafferty, who's 17-0 with 9 knockouts, who's back too, following 4 wins in 3 months to close out 2021. Elsewhere on that card, we see Mike McGoldrick, who's 7-1 with 2 knockouts, making his long-awaited comeback. And rising star Lerone Harrison is 2-0, aims to extend his unbeaten record. Again, there's lots of other fighters and some making their debuts, such as Luke Caffrey, Adam Carberry, Taylor Finch, and Barney Stokes. Looks to be a great event, and congratulations to MTK Global for putting that together in such short notice, given the COVID restrictions that have just recently been lifted. I mentioned Caroline Dubois earlier, while her brother, Daniel Dubois, had some comments to make with respect to the heavyweights, who I was talking about earlier. And this comes under the headline of Daniel Dubois assesses the heavyweight landscape. So I'm going to end off today's episode with his comments. Daniel Dubois assessed the heavyweight landscape and concluded that he is destined to become the leading man of the division when his time comes. The 24-year-old is ranked at #1 by the WBA, and a shot at the champion Trevor Bryan is set to be called by the governing body. The WBA, of course, also have a super champion via unification, which is currently Alexander Usyk, who is awaiting a rematch with the vanquished Anthony Joshua. Dubois defeating Bryan would ultimately see him put forward to face the Usyk-Joshua winner, or perhaps an undisputed champion if the belts come together. Dubois acknowledges there's a lot to play for before any such mystic matchmaking becomes a reality. He says, "Let's see in the next couple of fights and where it goes. I want to take one fight at a time. I want to be up there at the top level fighting the best, winning a world title and holding on to it for a long time. That is my aim, and it is all I can say." So there you go, sports fans. That's all the news today. Thank you for joining me. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to let you know when I'm coming up next. And I'll see you later this afternoon at 4 p.m. to join Mike Court 4 on Knuckle Up, and then seeing us Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the Friday night panel. Thank you, and we'll see you again later.